we good to go?
Just about. I'm just watching the status bar. It's setting it up on YouTube Live right now.
Okay.
Spinning. Okay, we're on. I'm going to mute out.
All right. All right, John.
Okay. All right. I call this meeting of the Kennedale Independent School District to order. Everyone go through and please state your name. Let's just start down there with Michael and then do your order at the table.
Michael Strange.
Julie Webb.
John Clark.
John Hunt.
Leslie Carruthers.
Don Ham.
Andrew Biscoe could not join us because of work, and I am Chad G., Superintendent.
Okay, very good. On March 16th, Governor Greg Abbott granted a request by Attorney General Ken Paxton to temporarily suspend a limited number of open meetings laws to the extent necessary to allow telephonic and video conference meetings in response to the coronavirus. In accordance with this suspended rules, we certify that the notice of this meeting was posted online at least 1 hour prior to this emergency meeting. Number one, although members of the board are not gathered in a central physical location, we do have a quorum in attendance at this meeting by video conference or telephone call. We're meeting by use of Zoom video conferencing, which allows us to have two-way communication between the board. As we would at any in-person meeting, members of the public who have followed instructions of the meeting notice registering to speak during this public comment portion will have their comments read in the comments portion of the posted agenda. All of the meeting procedures will adhere to board adopted procedures to the extent practical. The audio recording of this meeting is being made and will be available to the public at a later date. We apologize in advance for any unforeseen difficulties and ask for your patience as we navigate this unprecedented set of conditions. So we have everybody here. We did the roll call. Leslie, you got that?
Got it.
All righty. Are there any public comments?
There were no public comments.
Okay. So that brings us down to new business. Item A, discuss and consider postponing the May 2020 school board election to the uniform election date of November 3rd, 2020, or an earlier date allowed by law.
And I spoke with Mr. Biscoe. He was not able to join us, so I'll kind of share his views. He is in favor of moving it to November, but he would prefer it's allowable at an earlier date, such as July, to do it then. Unfortunately, we're not sure because of the state attorney, Secretary of State's office says that we are only allowed to move it to November 3rd. We're getting information from the city that they believe it could be moved to an earlier date by governor decree. So we're kind of waiting to see that, but our motion would allow us to move it to the November 3rd or to the earliest date that's allowable by law.
Okay.
Is that what the city decided earlier to do as well?
Yes.
I know it's just, if we have one by ourselves, it's expensive and stuff, but also just us keeping in line together.
Well, one would be staying in line with the city, but the other is just the, we are looking at, today we just had a decree with the Tarrant County doing the stay-at-home orders, and as this progresses, we don't know how far out that's going to reach. And I think for the safety of our constituents and for the safety of our citizens, it behooves us to move it to a later date.
And I had contact with Mr. Owens just because I happened to have his number. And he would prefer an earlier date than November is what he told me, if at all possible. I'm not sure the order we have reflects an earlier date. And I would think if we're going to vote on that, it ought to be added to that to state that the November election or earlier as authorized by the governor's office.
My suggested motion does have that date of November 3rd or an earlier date allowed by law.
Yep. As is mine.
Did the city talk about that at all? Doing it before November?
That's what their actual ordinance says. It would be the earlier date. It has all the parameters for November, but also provides an earlier date if allowed. The problem is it doesn't specify all the backup dates for mail-in ballots and those sorts of things, but I think it provides for an earlier date as allowed by law.
Can we add the verbiage in there to keep it with the city? So sorry.
No, my concern with that is we have two cities. We can talk about Kennedale, and I don't know what Arlington's done yet as far as whether they're willing to move it forward. I mean, I think we have to look at those options. I think it'd be great. The more people that are in an early election, the better off. But I don't know if Arlington will do that or not. I haven't heard that yet.
Nor have I. I know that when I spoke with the mayor, he was saying that the Arlington mayor was pushing to keep it at the May election. But they may not, I don't feel like they're going to have a choice in that. One, the Tarrant County Election Office, they're very concerned that even if you do hold the elections at the earliest date, which is the May 2nd election, that they won't have enough workers to work the polls. That's their big concern, that they aren't going to have people volunteering to show up to do it.
I think that's a legitimate concern. I also have concern that the population coming to vote, you know, if we have people over 65 who vote regularly, they're going to be concerned about voting if there's still even a chance of the virus floating around. I think we have to be very concerned about the health aspect of it, you know, and giving it as much time to clear is probably the best thing we can do.
Yeah, I think the health and safety concern of the voters is the, you know, obviously is the primary impetus here, or the impetus here for this. I think that you know, if we need to modify, or do we have a suggested modification to the motion?
I'm okay with how it reads, but
Because if we have it the way it reads, we could still have it in May with Arlington, correct? If that's what Arlington chooses.
I believe so.
So that kind of protects us all the way around.
I agree.
The city language says it's hereby postponed until the earlier of November 3, 2020, or a date that may be specified as an alternative in a future order issued by Governor Greg Abbott. That's what their statement is.
Okay. I mean, this is obviously an impetus by the governor allowing this, and his concern for the safety of the voters. So, you know, we can say it's on his call, or we can say just a date allowed earlier. I think would work. Don't y'all agree?
Well, I think he has to call another date, because I think the Secretary of State will take the position it's either in our May election cycle or November, because you only have uniform election dates now. So the Secretary of State would probably push back. And if y'all will remember, that was a big issue in the legislature, trying to have all cities and school districts vote in November. And we're basically, you know, that there was some pushback against that. We're basically going to say, okay, a joint election in November is exactly what the legislature wanted last cycle. for part of
Right,
them.
right. Is there a runoff election cycle in July?
They're supposed to be, but that may change too.
Okay.
According to the Secretary of State's office, it's not a uniform election cycle. It has to be those uniform election cycles, which is May or November. Is what they're telling us, and what we got advice from our attorney.
Well, and that may be true, but the governor's edicts, but I call it that, or his orders are very broad. I mean, in a legal context, the orders from the Supreme Court are waiving statutes of limitations and all rules of procedure in a lot of respects.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a very broad order. So the idea that the Secretary of State says in this circumstance there couldn't be something different, you know, maybe the court will answer that question before we do it. But I mean, I think we need to leave an option open for an earlier date because I think that benefits, you know, us locally for informed voters. You know, again, assuming health concerns are not overriding it. I think we need to have an early option out if it's available.
Okay. You think the motion's okay, John?
Well, the order of postponement I didn't see an earlier date on it unless I'm reading something wrong.
It says to approve postponing the May 2020 school board election to the uniform election date of November 3rd or an earlier date allowed by law is what
But the actual order of postponement only speaks of the November date. The actual order itself says.
Say it again.
The actual order of postponement in our packet says authorizing the postponement of the May 2 election until November 3, 2020. And then everything in it says postpone and take place on November 3. There's no language in the actual order of postponement giving us an early out, even though our motion may have that.
Okay.
Again, unless I'm reading the wrong.
I don't know. I was just reading the motion here.
I think you're right, Leslie. I think it does set it in the motion. I'm just saying I'm looking at the order.
Yeah.
The order matches our motion.
So you're talking about to modify the order. I got you, John.
Yes.
Yeah. So we need to add the earliest possible date language in there before until November 3rd.
Yeah, mine reads, make a motion to approve postponing the school board election to the earliest possible date allowed before or on November 3rd, 2020 uniform election date.
Yeah, that is on the motion, Sean, but if you look at the order of postponement there on the attachment, it does not say anything about the earliest possible date.
Okay.
So you want me to make some specific notes that on the order we need to change the wording?
Yeah, I think we're talking about here where it says, as a result of the proclamation by Governor Greg Abbott authorizing the postponement of the May 2nd, 2020 election until November 3rd, Board of Trustees finds school board will be postponed to take place at the earliest possible date or on November 3rd. On or before November 3rd?
Yeah, I'll write. I just don't have that order in print here. I usually have my book, but I don't have my book. So I'm okay, so
I mean,
change the wording.
The actual language in the cities, the additional language is or a date that may be specified as an alternative in a future order issued by Governor Greg Abbott. That's what they're.
Yeah, that'd be good. That'd be good. Just add that on after November 3rd, 2020. If we just added that on to where it says that after about both of those semicolons. Would that work, John?
I'll read it back to you. Or a date that may be specified.
Okay.
Sorry.
You could put it in the chat, John.
Yeah, that's more complicated than I can do. Do you need
or
more
dates that may be specified.
Or a future order issued by
Governor Abbott.
Abbott.
then our motion and the order would line up. Is that correct? Is that what you think, John?
Yes, just to be safe.
I think that's a good idea. Good catch.
Okay, I've got to excuse myself 1 second. I'm bleeding. Hold on. I got a paper cut.
Can we send the fire department?
So with those added, John, you think the motion would be okay then?
I think if the motion is not changed, as long as we have the order updated to reflect the intent, which is that we have that earlier date. Because I mean, again, technically, if we had a July date, there'd have to be a specified listing of when the polls were open, when the early voting dates are, when the mail-in ballots. I mean, there's a number of things I think we have to comply with, but I think we can get away with it. You just have the order say, or that date, and following appropriate procedures or something.
I agree.
Okay, I'm back in action. I didn't think Tracy and the ladies would appreciate at this point in this world if they had blood on the paper.
Okay. Okay. So we're ready for a motion, I guess.
Yes.
I make a motion to approve postponing the school board election to the earliest possible date allowed before or on the November 3rd, 2020 uniform election date.
I have a motion and a second. And let's just roll call vote this down. Michael?
Aye.
Okay, John?
Aye.
Julie?
Aye.
Leslie?
Aye.
Sean?
Aye.
Did he proxy?
What?
Did Andrew proxy?
He told me he was in favor of it, yes.
Okay, and I'm going to abstain from this, so motion carries. All right. Next is our safety and security measures for the virus. Do we need to
We're going to close session on this, so Brian will have to stop recording on this. I'm not recording, but yeah,
the live feed?
the live feed.
I have questions. So typically on the closed session events, you know, we leave and we do not record those portions of it. So do we have guidance or directives on this? Am I okay to stay in here, or do I just turn off the live feed? Or
Have we stopped the recording, Brian?
not yet? Right now it's still going.
Then
Are we going into closed session? I can stop the live stream for sure.
Specifics to our needs for the coronavirus and how this affects our district, you will be in that conversation. So, and then when we come out of that, they're going to have to vote on something, so we'll have to start the recording.
Okay, so are we good to stop the live stream at this portion?
I believe so, yes.
Okay, so we're going into closed session. Thank you.